Hello, and welcome back to the Invisible Hours. If you joined me last time, I'm continuing my gameplay. If you are new to this gameplay, this is the Invisible Hours. This is an interesting game in which you play an invisible observer to a murder mystery. Essentially, the way the game plays out is you wander freely around a mansion in which a murder has taken place and in which other murders follow soon afterwards. You are invisible the entire time and can progress time forward and backwards, including pausing it, to observe actions from different angles at different points. For instance, at some point, a murder occurs and someone finds the body. In my previous playthrough, I then looked at the body and rewound time until he was alive again and found out who the murderer was. I'll go over some of the events of last time as I go. Some of the objects you see here are objects which I've seen within the game. These spots were empty when I first started the game, so it actually places objects within the game as you go. Let me see if it does a last time on. So as you can see, characters involved include Sarah Bernhardt, Nikola Tesla, and Thomas Edison. And doors. So let me see here. Here's an important part of the game. Let's start the story once again. So let me go over what went on last
hide
week.
from him until the police arrive.
Use your real voice!
Call them down immediately. Bang the gong.
Is anybody here? Hello?
I'll pull a man's frown out for less than what you did.
What were you doing in the basement?
There have been a lot of odd goings on, to say the least. Oh, here I am in chapter 1. I'm gonna go back out. So, here we are. Here are all the players, and of course the stage. So, let me see. As you can see, the game has 4 chapters. I believe there's a hidden 5th one when I've observed enough for it to count. Vanderberg. So let me go over from the beginning. So the game starts off with Gustav Gustafsson arrives on the island. Nikola Tesla is dead. I can actually use this map to show you. So Nikola Tesla is here, dead on the floor at the beginning of the game. There you go. So Nikola Tesla is here dead at the beginning of the game, as far as we know. Oh, no, he is. You can rewind time, as I said, to 5:49 a.m. or p.m. I think it is, and Nikola Tesla is dead. At the time, each of the characters are in their own locations. You can see Mr. Mundy is right here. The other characters are in various rooms doing various things. You can see Vanderberg, I believe, at this time. Oh, yes, you can see him over here. This is his room. So as the story progresses, you can see characters move around. You can see... I wish I could zoom in on this, actually. Characters will move around and appear in certain places throughout the game. and certain parts of the story will occur as you observe them. For instance, I believe near the end here. Yes, no, it was in Chapter 2. In Chapter 2, for example, if we follow Vanderberg, he finds a secret room right over here. Thomas Edison passes by. You can see Edison here. Is it Chapter 3 that happens? Yes, so in Chapter 3, if we follow Vanderberg, he has wandered down the secret passage he found into the secret lab and has decided to show Edison this. However, when Edison learns of this, he is not happy about it and decides to kill Vanderberg. As you can see, here's an interesting situation here. So if we follow, for instance, Flora. Flora is this letter here. So I happen to... this is kind of hard to explain. At this point in the game, as you can see, Gustav and I believe that is Swan are speaking in this room. Mr. Mundy, Flora, and Bernhardt? Is that Sarah Bernhardt? Yes, Sarah Bernhardt are in this room. They're actually having performing a seance for Flora's husband. It's kind of a long story. It'd be kind of hard to explain on short notice, but I'm just using this as an example. So if you watch, Flora is in this room having their seance. Edison and Vanderberg, I was not following at this point, but should be either here, here going down into, this is the first floor, this is the second floor, this is the basement. I believe this is possibly the third floor or attic, or the rooftop. This is the basement though, a hidden basement. So as we can see, Flora's in here. At this time I was not following them, but Edison and Vanderberg should be either here heading into the secret room or already in the secret room. If we follow Flora as I move the slider along the time, we can see that she moves through the house, leaves the room, heads through this doorway, and heads down these stairs. At the same time, Edison and Vanderberg, over here, are having the conversation that leads to Vanderberg's death. Flora appears just as Edison leaves. You can kind of, you can't see it very well. But then you'll notice Edison will appear up here in the kitchen where Swan is coming in through the window. That is a different story. You can watch Swan over here actually doing something to the lights, then moving through the house. And we see, let me move slowly again, try to move a little more slowly. As you can see, Flora moves, heads through the doorway, heads down the stairs into the hidden room. And then, while she's down there, Edison is up in the kitchen with Swan. Flora has found Vanderberg's body, has let out a scream which everyone hears, and then everyone hurries downstairs to find out what the commotion is, in which case everyone is now all together again. This is an interesting way to play a game. The game takes place over about an hour and a half, almost 2 hours. I haven't found all of the mysteries, and as I said, I believe there's a 5th chapter that it hints at with this little marker right here. My last playthrough, I decided to follow Mrs. Bernhardt and Mr. Mundy. Obviously this is a work of fiction. They use Thomas Edison and Sarah Bernhardt, which were real people. However, in the story they insinuate that Victor Mundy murdered his wife and her lover because he caught them cheating, or her cheating, and his daughter testified against him in court. In retaliation, he cut off her nose in the courtroom. Big commotion. It is later insinuated and then revealed that Sarah Bernhardt is actually Mr. Mundy's daughter, having obviously gone some sort of great deal of surgery, recovering a nose, etc., etc. So I decided to follow them through Chapter 4, in which it's very obvious they have some sort of connection. So if you can see Bernhardt here, you can see I followed her. And basically, it's very clear that they have some sort of enmity. They eventually wander up to the roof, as you can see here. There they are on the roof. At which time Mr. Mundy, Sarah Bernhardt actually attacks Mr. Mundy first. I believe it's right about here. He strikes back. Is obviously much stronger than her. Fights back against her. Let me see if I can switch to Mundy. You see Mundy there. And fights back against her, and is about to kill her when he is suddenly struck by lightning on the roof. Very dramatic. At the same time, I happened to notice something going on involving, I believe it was Thomas Edison and Mr. Swan, down over here. I'm not sure what was going on. I believe I have to investigate to actually understand. So this time I'm going to follow Thomas Edison. He did in fact murder Mr. Vanderberg. I do not believe Vanderberg is a real person. So obviously this is not, based in reality in any way. However, the fact that they would use real people in this way, I think, is very interesting. Pardon me. Sorry about that. So I'll be continuing the game at this point. I'm going to start in Chapter 4 once again. I don't want to... Actually, do I have time to kill? I do have some time to kill. I think... Wish I had a voting mechanism. Perhaps a coin. No, you know what? I'm already this far into the story, so this time I'm going to follow Gustav. He seems to be, for most intents and purposes, the main character of the story. It's the only person who could not have killed Nikola Tesla. Considering the events of the night, I don't believe any of these other people killed Nikola Tesla, except possibly Flora. She's the only one I feel does not have a solid alibi, or doesn't seem particularly interested in the death of Tesla. Mr. Mundy was a murderer. He's admitted to it and served his time. Sarah Bernhardt has no reason to kill Nikola Tesla other than he knows some things, but she's obviously not concerned about it. Not really sure why she's here, other than she may have heard of Mr. Mundy. Thomas Edison's just here to just kind of piss on Tesla. He doesn't like Tesla. Edison was not a good person. I mean, the game kind of hangs a lampshade on that by making him a murderer. Vandenberg, I believe, is not a real person, but I could see him showing up for reasons. Swan, who is, spoilers, supposed to be a blind butler, is not in fact blind, as far as I can tell. It's pretty clear he's not at this point in the game. None of them really have a good reason to kill Tesla, except Edison, but the way he acts makes me think he didn't. The way he acts in private, more specifically. The fact that you can see all these people when they're not acting, I guess is the best way to say it, because certain things happen. Let me point out something. For instance, at the time they discover the body of Mr. Vandenberg, who was in fact murdered by Mr. Edison. If you remember correctly, I mentioned that Edison had been in the kitchen at this time with Mr. Swan. I'm not sure exactly what was going on with Swan. I'm actually kind of curious to follow Swan around the entire time, the not blind butler. He was doing something to the lights. I'm not sure why at this point. But he happened to be climbing in through the window of the kitchen because he'd been locked out the front door, and Edison saw him. Now, Edison was in fact the murderer. However, at the time that they found the murder and everyone was together, Edison's alibi was I was with Swan. And of course, Swan, not wanting to throw suspicion on himself, agreed with Edison. There's an interesting twist that gave Edison a perfect alibi while also making him the murderer. So the guilt of others obviously plays into things, but the way that Edison acts outside of other people, the fact that he would murder Vandenberg while talking of Nikola Tesla makes me think that he's not the murderer. Flora's the only one that doesn't have a genuine solid alibi, except for Gustav, who came to the island before Tesla was dead. So I'm going to follow Gustav. I know where he is at this point, because he's, I should preface this. Let me start off from the beginning, and see where things go from here. I'm hoping the good detective will shine some light on things.
Gustav, we've been here a quarter of an hour. Let me check the house again. We might have missed something. I don't think you should be drinking.
So I've stopped time just so we could take a look around real quick. Here's Flora. Here's her locket. Here's Gustav. And this is an interesting little piece of information. So, obviously we have time powers. Forward in time. We can stop time, we can move time forward.
I have nothing to do with this. I'm the one who found him.
And we can move time backwards. Forwards, backwards, stop, and go.
We might have missed something.
So we have time powers. An interesting aspect of this game that is revealed through texts that you pick up is some sort of time paradox, I want to say. The reason everyone's here is because Nikola Tesla told everybody, sent out letters to all of the people here, possibly even Swan, that he had some way to undo mistakes, turn back time, as it were. And that is exactly what you are doing at this time. Oh, Swan, what are you doing? You're moving time, for instance, backwards and forwards. So you are doing what Nikola Tesla said that he could provide to these people, but you're an invisible observer. Nikola Tesla is currently dead. However, at some point you find a newspaper report that Nikola Tesla died of apparent suicide somewhere completely different from here. And right now you can see that Flora is here wearing her locket. However, Gustav has her locket right here.
I think you should be drinking.
We're going to see why that is.
What were you doing in the basement?
You told me to look around. You must know I had nothing to do with this. I'm the one who found him.
A deductive mind would see that as evidence of guilt.
Oh, really? And what's your alibi?
When we arrived together, I didn't have time to search Tesla's body thoroughly. I was distracted. But later on, I had another level of fun. It's yours.
Why would I make a duplicate of my own locket? Somebody is clearly trying to frame me, aren't they?
Give me back Mr. Tesla's gun.
For goodness sake, you can trust me. You said so yourself.
Give me back that gun!
I don't have it. I didn't feel safe carrying it around, so I hid it away.
Get it. Now. And don't take too long.
So I'm thinking at some point I have to follow around Mr. Swan because he obviously knows things Mr. Swan was Mr. Tesla's butler. He claims to be blind. He's... Huh. That little bit of subtitle brings up some disturbing questions. Mr. Gustav Gustafsson is a detective. He made a mistake years ago which led to the death of more people. He accidentally let a murderer go. It happens, I suppose, on the force. And he was supposed to have called the police already to let them know that there was a murder so that they could send backup. But if Mr. Swan is calling the police now, and they said that this is the first they've heard, that means he never called the police. Was he trying to solve the mystery on his own to turn it into a big thing? Was he trying to save his career? Is he that self-centered? It's kind of sad. So this is something that also happens. While everyone else is doing stuff, you end up not doing stuff every now and then. As you wait for characters to move. It is now 7 o'clock. Sorry. I just have to say, perspective, truth. I kind of want this clock. I keep hitting that button. I apologize. I gotta make sure I hit the pause time button and not the... So Gustav Gustafsson has thought of something while looking. So this is a burned piece of paper that says "Other Death" on it. Here. I can stop time. Look at the paper in his hand. Other Death. That's all we can make out. Now, I happened to see what this paper was. This was Nikola Tesla's will, stating that everything he owned was to be left to a charity. Mr. Swan actually found this will, and having read it, as a blind butler shouldn't have. I keep pausing the game. I apologize. Also, interestingly enough, we saw that Swan had locked this door. This door wasn't normally locked, so that's why he had to kick it open. And this is Victor Mundy's will. As you can see, Other Death is also here. So I believe this means that Gustav has figured out that this is part of Mr. Tesla's will that someone tried to burn. We know it was Swan.
I recommend to direct all the state's inheritance and other death taxes shall be paid as an expense of administration. Other death. Son of a bitch!
We don't know what Gustav's thinking right now. But we know that that's his will. We know that that's Tesla's will. And we know that Swan tried to burn it after seeing it. Swan was hoping he would get Tesla's inheritance. We know that the paper did originally say that Tesla was giving all his inheritance to a charity. So, I mean, oh, also, So this is an interesting part of the game, and this is very important. So there are certain things that we cannot or will not see unless characters pick them up. For instance, certain books on shelves, certain doors will not open, and for instance, at some point we saw Flora walk through this secret door, which leads, of course, downstairs to the secret lab. Until we saw her walk through that door, at some point I came in through the other secret door that Vanderberg found, walked up these stairs, found this part of this door, obviously the doorway out, but it would not open until we actually saw Flora open it from this side. The fact that Flora knows about the secret door, again, throws suspicion on her, in my opinion, but let us follow Gustav. People are having conversations around us. Who's talking? Might be Victor Mundy, or might be Sarah Bernhardt. I know that they're upstairs heading to the roof right now. But let me follow Gustav. At some point, for instance, we saw Thomas Edison pick up a book off the shelf, which dealt with spirit projection. Personally, I believe that actually implies that we play as the ghost of Nikola Tesla, somehow performing exactly the experiment that he was planning to try for them to reverse time. Because I believe the game actually starts at shortly after the death of Tesla. Well, obviously it does, because, yes. What is it, Gustav? What do you know? We've never been through this door. I'm not sure if it ever opens. This is Swan's room.
Rose.
So that's Gustav realizing that Edison likely killed Vanderberg. Edison wears rosewater perfume or cologne. Vanderberg did not, of course. Vanderberg smelled highly of whiskey, mostly. So this is an interesting little aspect too also. So Victor Mundy and Sarah Bernhardt are preparing to... Victor Mundy probably suspects something, but is just trying to defend himself. Sarah Bernhardt knows who Victor Mundy is and is planning on killing him. That's very clear. You'll notice they're coming upstairs just as Gustav is. They're just leaving his view just as he's coming up. And here's Thomas Edison. What has he been up to? He's been hiding. I think because he knows he's guilty of murder.
Going somewhere, Mr. Edison?
I'm going to my room to lock the door and wait for the police. And once they take that Victor Mundy away, maybe I'll come out.
I thought you'd like to spend more time in the basement, lapping up a little of that test of genius. I had a revelation about those two words we found. Other death. You see, I don't think it was a prediction from beyond the grave, or even instructions for the killer. But I think you know that. Don't you, Mr. Edison?
What I know is you're drunk, and you're grasping at straws.
You burned that document, didn't you? But thanks to Victor Monday, I know what it was.
For goodness sake, go to bed.
If you die without a will, they will auction off everything you had. That means all of Tesla's inventions, all of his patents, all of his genius. It will all go on a nice little auction, where a thief like you can snap it up and put the Edison stamp on it. But what if somebody were to figure out your little plan and wanted to bid against you at the auction? You're wealthy, Mr. Edison, but you're not Vanderberg wealthy, and that's why you killed him.
And I'm sure you have all sorts of evidence to support this theory, don't you, Detective?
It's all about time. Time is the key to solving this case. Remember when first we met? I asked you to mark the hour of death of Mr. Tesla. You took out your pocket watch and said 6 o'clock. And right at that moment, the grandfather clock struck 6, which meant that your pocket watch and the grandfather clock were both on local time. Perfectly synchronized. But later when we went into the basement and I asked you to mark the time of death of Mr. Vanderberg, you said 11:45.
So what?
Well, when I went back upstairs a few minutes later, I heard the grandfather clock strike 7, which meant that your pocket watch was no longer on local time. Do you know where in the world it was 11:45 when you told me that?
Where?
Manchester, England, the hometown of Mr. Vanderberg.
He's got
The place
Vanderberg's
to
watch.
which his pocket watch was set.
This is nonsense.
Is it? Turn out your pockets, Mr. Edison.
Even if I did kill him, why the hell would I take his pocket watch?
You can't put a steak in front of a wolf and expect them not to eat it.
Satisfied?
Other buck.
Now, why do you have 2 pocket watches, Mr. Edison?
Give it to me.
Meanwhile, on the roof, Mr. Mundy and Mrs. Bernhardt are having quite the showdown as well.
Stop!
Stop.
Am I supposed to believe you're going to shoot me? How will you explain that to the police? Oh. I see. You never called them.
Because I know how easily you can fool a policeman. We all came here to make our mistakes undone. I cannot undo mine, but I can make sure it doesn't happen again.
And after you shoot me, I suppose you'll justify yourself to the law by showing them the only piece of proof that confirms your story. And then they'll have to believe you, won't they?
Don't. No! Doesn't matter. I still have the locket. I don't know why you made a duplicate,
but I know it proves something!
I've never seen that before in my entire life. Why don't you turn the gun on yourself? You're nothing but a drunk. A detective who let 2 murders happen under his nose. And me? I am the father of the modern age!
You killed that boy! And you killed Mr. Tesla!
Is that what you believe?
It's what I know! Men like you escape the gallows, but you're not escaping me!
Oh! Oh! Okay, well, didn't really expect that, especially all things considered, but okay, so let me just teleport back on land. Right about here. Okay, well. I think you should have done that, Swan.
Are you all right? You should come inside.
Well, we've seen everybody except Flora. So, I'm going to take a moment. I have to go to the bathroom and get a quick drink. I'll be back and continue with the story. Hello again. So we're at a bit of an impasse because we've reached the end of the 4th chapter once again. We've seen what happens with Miss Bernhardt and Mr. Mundy. And we've seen what happens with Mr. Gustav. which involves Mr. Swan and Mr. Edison. Not a good time for anybody. However, once again, Flora is a mystery. As you can see, I didn't follow her very much through most of the chapters. I spent a lot of time with her here because of the murder, and she becomes the prime suspect. But you can see a lot of time here I did not spend with her, and a lot of time here. Spend a good amount of time with her just because she's a part of that. So I'm actually going to follow her through chapter 4 entirely. See where her story takes us. I believe she may actually be the key to unlocking chapter 5.
Gustav, we've been here a quarter of an hour. Let me check the house again. We might have missed something. I don't think we should be drinking.
And we can fast forward past this a bit. I really don't know what Swan's up to and why he decides to attack Gustav. He may know more than he lets on too, but it seems we're gonna have to follow Flora. Oh, well, we missed something. Let me go back. Whoops. Let's wait for Flora to get back into the room. There we go. Okay. Alright, Flora, what's going on here? You put it somewhere down in the secret room. So it's very obvious certain aspects of the game, the length of certain hallways, the length of stairways, was made to provide other characters with time to venture to the places they needed to be. It's very interesting. It's basically a movie that you freely watch yourself. So aspects are hidden from you until you watch that part of the movie. Here's the bottle of laudanum that Vanderberg had. And there's a door that was never opened before. Oh, she dropped it. She dropped it in surprise.
Wait. Stop. I need the gun. I know who the killer is. I said I know who the killer is.
I just want to get inside this room.
I said he was dead. Imagine how he felt about you.
It's fine. I imagine you feel like it was all his fault. If you love someone, you must protect them. Or you'll be doomed to avenge them. Godspeed, Mr. Swan. I hope you find your peace out there.
I hope you find yours not dead.
She's not planning on killing You think you know, Swan. Hold on a minute, look. Hold on a minute. Okay, this is not time period. Oh, thanks.
The man on the radio told me. The man on the radio told me to...
Leon. I knew it. I knew it.
This is... That's the murder weapon. That is the murder weapon.
I know it's horrible. But one of those awful people did to Nicholas. But if they hadn't... Oh, Richard, we never would have got here at all.
Somehow she wants to help her dead husband. But it's really unclear how. Presumably this is some sort of time travel device? What are you going to do, Flora? And are we Flora? Are we Richard? Don't have to flip the switch. Sure, fine, it's powering up. Good enough. Right? Oh. Oh, Flora.
Work! God damn you! Please! What I have to do?
Something's happening. We're with you, Flora. Laura? What's... We're back in the house. You wait there. I'm gonna go check something. Flora? Alright. Something's going on. There's Mundy. There's Flora. Oh man, we have to find Tesla. Where is Tesla? Oh, so Flora did do it. I didn't realize how right I was. There's Serper and her.
An Ekdale never lies.
Disgraced Swedish detective.
That's Tesla's voice. Oh, here's Edison. Right, nothing. So where is Tesla right? Oh! I unpaused time accidentally.
You came all this way for the same answer.
Nicola, please! Please!
You are trespassing on this island.
You must let me in!
Understand me. You will only get inside this house over my dead body.
Why won't you help me?
I am helping you.
Why these people? Why let these total strangers make their mistakes undone when I'm begging? I'm begging you, Nicola!
Because undoing their mistakes doesn't hurt anyone else.
Be a good man, goddamn you! Be a good man! Strike you down!
Hello, Nicola.
Nice to see you again. You should leave.
I know that goes out.
Why didn't you take me where I wanted to go?
Then tell me how.
My answer to you will always be the same. Your husband died saving the lives of 10 other men. If you go back and stop him going to war, those men die instead, and you hand your suffering to 10 other wives, just like you. So no, I will never tell you how to use my room. You will only get inside this house again over my dead body. You'll have to kill me.
I think I already did.
Well, what are you gonna do now, Flora? Okay, well, there's chapter 0. So we know what happened now. So are we not gonna get an epilogue then? Yeah, Flora disappears right around this time, huh? So it's chapter 0 then. So what if we go to Gustav? Gustav's just not even here in chapter 0. So I guess that's it? I mean... So I guess we've seen the whole story for the most part. Can't see much else going on. Oh, wait! So we have to follow Flora at the beginning of at the end of chapter 0. So at the beginning of chapter 1, we have to be right about here. About here. So chapter 0 ends at 544. So let's try to be down here at the beginning of chapter 1. So let's see what happens. Down here at the beginning of chapter 1. Let's go.
Godspeed, Mr. Swan. I hope you...
So this is the beginning of chapter 1. I mean... Is Flora going to be anywhere around? There's a full 5 minutes since the death of Tesla. So... I don't think we'll find her anywhere. Man. So, hold on. So what do we do now? I mean, we pretty much know where everyone was at this point. was a full 5 minutes before the death of Tesla. Well, I guess I guess that's the point then. We've solved the mystery. I mean, it's a weird end to it, and do we find the body of Flora? So what happens to Flora? Oh, there's the stone. There's the workshop. So what do we do now? I feel that there's more to the story to be said. I mean, Flora just runs off. Well, I can exit for now. And I'm 71% done. I got the globe. Got the Tesla machine. Still feel there's more to be said, but I suppose.
But I promise you, this will not go unpunished.
Will it? Yeah, okay, it's the end of chapter 0, but then we don't get any in between. And then Tesla's dead. Just 5 minutes later. It's kind of a shame, really. I mean, we solved the mystery. We didn't get all the diary entries. There's a lot of paintings and such. Pardon me. Hello. Huh? Oh, pardon me. I forgot to ask Matt if there was something on the locker room. 9? 9? Okay, 9. Okay. Sorry about that. So I guess that's pretty much the end of the mystery. It's an interesting mystery, and I'm very curious to kind of find out what happens to other flora. But unfortunately, from the looks of things, that isn't something that we get to find out. There's a 5-minute time span between chapter 0 and chapter 1. And that's plenty of time for other flora to make her escape. Considering how fast we've seen people move in this game. It's unfortunate that... What is this? Wish I knew what these were. It's unfortunate that it doesn't actually give an epilogue, as it were, from the looks of things. There's Edison. we see what happens to Edison, we see what happens to Mundy, we see what happens to everyone else. Guess not Tesla. Well, actually, I wonder. Alright, so I'm gonna try something real quick. So let's head back to the machine right after Flora leaves. I wonder if she comes back.
Miss Bernhardt, could you please keep this between us? I'd rather not lower myself to using Tesla's garbage.
So this portal just stays? I'm just gonna fast forward time, see if anything changes between here and the end of the game. And that's the end. To be honest, it's kind of disappointing knowing that nothing happens. Let's check out Tesla's body. See if anything happens here. Well, here we are. There's Swan.
Tesla's will. Last will and testament of Nikola Tesla. I.
Again, I feel like there's just so much more that should be said. I feel I just didn't get to see. I wonder if other flora was actually here at any point.
Flora. Did you find anything?
I think it's an interesting thought, just being here the entire time. Well, I mean, I enjoyed the game. I will not say that I did not enjoy it immensely. It was a very interesting game, and I had a lot of fun playing both backwards and forwards. I'm a little disappointed they didn't go, I feel, any further into it than they could have. I feel there's a lot that they left unexplored. I feel the epilogue, I feel that there isn't an epilogue, and that's kind of disappointing. Because obviously at the end of the game, Gustav Gustafsson, Victor Mundy are both murdered, killed. Not murdered, killed. You know what? Pardon me a moment. I'm actually going to pause the game. And see if I can find a way to unlock an epilogue. Pardon me. Aha. So, after doing a little bit of research online, it turns out the spirit radio, interestingly enough, must be used at the point of death. Now there are 4 deaths in this game. 2 of them happen at roughly the same time. So...
Hello.
But apparently if you use the spirit radio at those particular times, it will trigger some sort of epilogue movie. So I know Nicola is about to die right there.
Why didn't you take me where I wanted to go?
Because you don't know how to use it.
Then tell me how.
My answer to you will always be the same. Your husband died saving the lives of 10 other men. If you go back and stop him going to war, those men die instead, and you hand your suffering to 10 other wives, just like you. So no, I will never tell you how to use my gun. You will only get inside this house again over my dead body. You'll have to kill me.
I think I already did.
So I believe Vandenberg is currently in possession of the spirit radio. Or maybe not. Where is the spirit radio at this point? There it is.
I know you can hear me. Yes, you. From the theater. There is another world. But this in this one. Listen for me again when you hear her scream.
Well, alright then. When I hear her scream that's when Flora finds the dead body of Vandenberg. So apparently it's not at the time of death, it's at the time of location of the body. Vandenberg. I believe the spirit radio was downstairs at the time, so it'll be here.
Search each floor and report back to me.
You killed...
Okay, hold on. So where's the spirit radio? That's when he murdered Vandenberg. Alright, so now I'm looking for the spirit radio at the time of Vandenberg's murder. The last thing Tesla said on his little spirit radio, talking directly to me, the one in the theater, is that I should listen for him when I hear her scream. Which is presumably when Flora finds Vandenberg's body. That means that I have to...
Is in this house. Speak his name. Speak his name.
That's her.
It came from in there.
Where is she? Where is she?
I don't know.
I'm listening. Let's rewind a bit. I know that Vandenberg died some time ago. So let's try it during their seance, actually.
That locket can just be for decoration.
Okay, I'm gonna go check if Vandenberg is dying right now, because I think it's at time of death. But he did say when I hear her scream, so... Okay, so he is about to die, so... Let me see. I'm just trying to get an epilogue out of this thing, you know. I plan on seeing the other people, you know, the other people's stories, like Swan, for instance, and everything.
My husband.
How did he die?
At war.
So it was during that flash
What is his name?
when he died.
Why don't want to say?
Name.
His name is Richard.
Don't have to go, Christopher. No! You're hurting me!
Stop. Why don't you want to
Funny
get
guy.
down with me?
I'm at Lucian's. No, monsieur. I only thought so.
The
Maybe
detective. Did he tell you something better than me?
He did not even mention me.
You said you loved someone. Read you, please.
My mother? She died when I was young.
What was her name?
You know, if this contraption really works, then, shouldn't we call Tesla? Monsieur Tesla! Monsieur Nikola Tesla! If your killer is in this house, speak his name. Speak his name.
It came from in there.
Where is she? Where is she?
I don't know.
Oh. It is turning on. You have something to say? I'm just getting a lot of static up and then turned off. Huh. I think maybe it'll only tell me something when when I've seen enough stuff. From what I've read online, you actually have to, for lack of a better way of saying it, fill everybody's bar. Which I may save for another time. However, so we got I believe I may have to see all the little I may have to collect all of these in order to get the proper epilogue. Which is a little unfortunate, but such is the way of things, I suppose. However, I think I'm going to cut it short a little bit today. Not really feeling in the mood after, finishing the storyline. We've solved the murder. Considering Edison and Bernhardt, go off on their separate ways and continue being real-life figures, I'd imagine things do not work out badly for them. I'm not sure if Edison ever admits to his murder. I wonder if he Swan ends up blackmailing him for the rest of his life, which would be a fitting end. Fuck at it, Thomas Edison. But I'll be finishing the story here today. We're gonna probably finish things later. I'll try to stream that. Try to make sure I get everything down. I've been streaming this from the beginning, so it seems appropriate to finish the end. But that will be for another day. And I wish you all a good day. And we will be exiting. So, have a good one.